Hello, officials, and welcome to week 6 of the 2025 football season and this next edition of the WHSAA football officials training tapes. This is Tyler Spear, your state coordinator of football officials. Thanks again for your time, and thanks again in advance to these officials and crews for being willing to let me look at some film and share it with a broad audience. Plays this week, one thing that's super important to note is that we're not picking on anyone this week. There's really good officiating on these tapes that I used, really good officiating in the games that I used, but we're just highlighting a couple pieces that I think are important for officials across the state to know and to pay attention to as we step towards even more meaningful football through the rest of the regular season and into the postseason. So keep that in mind that we want to use these as tools to get better. And when all of us as officials commit to getting better, that's when it happens. So before we get started, and I'm sorry you got to stare at the splash page for a little longer, we're going to do a quick rules check. And I'm going to highlight a few rules that you're going to see throughout the videos today. So if you're following along in your rule books, you're going to go to Rule 7, page 61 to start with. We're going to start with Rule 7.2.5, which talks about player formation and numbering requirements, which include no more than 4 A players may be backs. So no more than 4 A players can be backs. This is the 5 in the backfield rule that we want to know about, right? And then right under that in 7.2.5b, at the snap, at least 5 A players that are on their line of scrimmage, draw an underline under that piece of it, on their line of scrimmage must be numbered 50 to 79. I think we skim over that piece of it. We just think, okay, we've got 5 numbered 50 to 79. We're good. But if you look at this, it does say on the line of scrimmage. So put a pin in that for the future. As you stay on 61, you're going to see the exceptions as it relates to scrimmage kick formation on downs 1 through 3, and then on 4th down. So just keep those in mind as well, though they're not quite as relevant today. Next thing we're going to jump to is we're going to jump to Rule 7.5, Article 6, which talks about pass eligibility rules. We're on page 65 of your rule book. These pass eligibility rules apply only to a legal forward pass. So legal forward pass, right? For a player to be eligible, they have to be eligible by position and number. This is 7.5.6a. And then they talk about the numbers 0 to 49 and 80 to 99, other than the exception, right? It talks about being on the end of the line. So we're not covered up that type of a thing. All A players become eligible when B touches a pass. We won't see that this week, but just note that. And then any A player who is eligible at the start of the down remains eligible throughout the down. That is for eligibility. Don't confuse that with if they become ineligible by rule. Again, we're getting in the weeds there. The biggest things for this week, eligible by both position and number. Okay, that's the crux there. Continuing on, if you go to the next page, page 66, look at 7.5.12 and 13. 7.5.12 deals with ineligible downfield players. You'll hear me use the moniker IDP, ineligible downfield player. Ineligible A players may not advance beyond the expanded neutral zone, which is 2 yards into the defensive backfield if you look in Rule 2-28. On a legal forward pass, before a legal forward pass that crosses the neutral zone, just the neutral zone, not the expanded neutral zone there. So the pass has to cross the line. The expanded neutral zone is 2 yards deep, is in flight. So full tilt. Ineligible A players may not advance beyond the expanded neutral zone on a legal forward pass play before a legal forward pass that crosses the neutral zone is in flight. So IDP occurs when the pass is in flight, not when it crosses the zone. Little note there, maybe underline that one as well. You'll see that in just a minute. And lastly, if we look at Article 13, this deals with illegal touching. And again, an ineligible A player has illegally touched a forward pass if he bats, muffs, or catches a legal forward pass unless it's been touched by B. So you're going to see both 12 and 13 in the plays we look at here. Always good to get in the rule book. Sorry for making you sit there and read or listen to me read it to you. Always good to get in the rule book, though. So let's go ahead and keep going here. And we'll start with ineligible downfield players. Now, I've got two plays to show you here, and they run both sides of the coin when we look at IDP. So to set this this play up, it is 1st and 10. We're on the 33. So when we look at where our expanded neutral zone would be, is we're looking at the 35 for our expanded neutral zone. Now, the tough part here is that this play is an RPO, and so I'll go ahead and let it go here. But as it goes, you'll notice, and our wings do a good job of staying home here, as does our umpire. We read run block. And so obviously our mind goes to run. And that's what makes this kind of ruling tough, is because when we read run block, our mind goes one way. And then all of a sudden the QB here, he pulls and throws this ball. So I'll let it go and then we'll replay it here. You see the umpire throw. He threw on this play for ineligible downfield player. And I see what he sees here. I'm going to pause it at what he sees here. Now, Wings, you have a good, if not even a better, opportunity on this one just because you are staying home. But obviously what we're looking at here is that we've got 50 or 51 here, and he's beyond our 2-yard zone. Ball's in flight. Makes sense. However, if we loop this back, and again, RPO, we've got to make this in a split second here. But when I pause this, and you'll note the ball is right there, and we look at our line right here, I think we're okay not to throw on this one. And it's tough. Again, no rocks thrown on this one. But this is where, when we look at IDP, let's remember it's when the ball is in flight. It's what the definition tells us in the book. And so it's in flight. It's close on 50. But I think we could maybe pass on this one here. Again, wing officials, because you're staying home and doing a good job of that, I think this is one that maybe you can help our umpire get, or help our umpire come off of, if you have information. And again, on every play, number one, have an opinion. Number two, know when to share it. So super tough, but I do think we could perhaps pick this one up. And we'll show it once more through. All right, we're going to go to another play from this game. Okay, so on this play here, again, we'll set it up. 1st and 10 for the offense here. Busted play. And there's a lot to look at here. And again, our umpire throws. Really good get by our umpire here. I'll go ahead and stop it once we get to that point. Obviously, these guys don't know that it's busted. But when that pass is in flight, we clearly have a candidate for an eligible downfield player here. And so a really good get by the umpire. Now, again, I think Wings have a great opinion of this. But umpires, when it's in your kitchen, totally good throwing this one, right? Because obviously you have that opinion because it's right in your lap. So no issues there. I'm glad we have a throw on this. And then there's another consideration here that I want to highlight. I guess one thing I'll look at here is, Wings, you have a great opinion of this because of what you're looking at. You're staying on the line here, super clear. And you're mindful of the receivers that are in your area. So the H has got these guys. The L should be looking over here. Even though he's looking away, this is still your responsibility. I hate to say it, but I think your bill of your hat tells me you might be looking somewhere else. Try and work on that, right? Got to keep our eyes kind of like chameleons here, but it's kind of clear maybe we're ball watching. But I want to highlight a good thing that this H does up here at the top. On this play, obviously it's busted. I think our QB is right at the cusp of being outside the free blocking zone, I would say we err on the side of that he is. The ball bounces maybe just short or just on the line of scrimmage. I'll back this up just slightly, but what I want to show you is this bounces, incomplete pass signal, and then the H points to receivers in the area. Now, you might say, Tyler, those guys are pretty far away. Well, maybe so, but I like that we have the judgment that there are receivers in the area. I think that's good. We want to be judicious with this, but we also don't want to be nickel diamond players on this. And so our indicators are there. We should be talking about grounding, but I think we're okay with the pass. More so, I think we're really good and a good get by this umpire to catch the ineligibles downfield. Again, focus on eye discipline, line judge, but ultimately, I think there's a lot of good here. A good get, and again, well beyond the expanded neutral zone. So things to just think about. Make sure we're thinking about those as we watch film and as we pregame for this week. Okay, last play for you here, and this one is a fun one. Had this one sent to me, and again, as someone who's been bit by this play, it can happen to anyone. And so lots of grace for that. Context, we're 1st and 10 out of a timeout. And you'll notice that this team comes to the line really quickly, and I'll just let it go real quick here, and then we'll talk about it. Oh, boy. So as if we line this back up, I'll walk you through what we're seeing here. All right, we'll stop here. The first thing you're going to notice is if you see where my mouse is pointing, that would be 78. As we read a little earlier, he has his number, but he's not in the right position. So we have a formation issue here. Could flag this for illegal formation because he's not on the line of scrimmage. Otherwise, it looks like quads, pretty straightforward. But the next thing I want to highlight you to is this tackle right here in the middle. That's number 88. And so he is eligible by number, but because our friend number 2 here is on the line of scrimmage and you'll see him check up, that makes 88 ineligible because he's covered up. So 2 checks up to the line, as you see. 78 even double make sure he's off the line. Cool. We still have issues here, and as you can see, 88, who is ineligible, streaks right down the field, and they get crafty and go in for 6. So the question becomes, how do we catch this? And that's a really darn good question because you're used to seeing the same numbers, and quads is becoming more of a thing, so it's not quite as unusual. But I would still ask that we consider it an unusual formation. And anytime we have funky formations, we want to make sure that we have our legality. So really, any of the 5 on the crew should be able to catch this. But it's tough. Again, lots of grace. This is a great opportunity to use radios. In talking with another official on the state, this is one of those formations where the officials on the radio will announce their ineligibles. And so simple as the LJ saying, hey, 88's dead, 88's covered up, something like that. Everybody then knows that he's covered up, right? Or announcing who the ineligibles are or who the eligibles are. Hey, we got quads, 254, whoa, 78. However you work, it's a great opportunity to use the radio to communicate that and just try and get that little bit of an alert for our crewmates as well, right? Super tough, but hopefully we got to find a way to catch this. Obviously, as we get into crunch time, people get crafty, and we want to make sure that we don't let them get crafty at our expense. Last thing mechanically here, I think these officials do a good job of moving. Back judge, we're on the 24. I just start on the goal line instead of the 2. Then instead of meandering and ending up in the end zone, you're just standing on the goal line for this tutty. I think the wings do a good job of moving downfield. I think this LJ maybe thinks something funky happened, but ultimately, the coverage is where it needs to be for the most part. Pre-game communication. Think about what it looks like. Pre-game communication with your crewmates. because at some point you just never know when you might be the crew saver that prevents something like this from happening. Okay, officials, thank you for your time again. Really appreciate it. Have a great week. Safe travels out there. Be the crew saver this week. Communicate well this week. And as always, thank you so much for all you do for the teams, schools, and athletes of Wyoming. Again, this is Tyler Spear, your state coordinator of football officials. Hit that like and subscribe button. Don't really know why. They say it helps. Again, thanks for everything and have a great week.